I knew when I signed up for this one I was going to learn a lot.
How you guys doing? Good? Alright. You must feel like you can do anything in this thing compared to fixed wing, right? Yeah, I like the helicopters much better. Also a very cool shot here. Yeah, that's amazing.
But the journey of finishing this episode was more than I bargained for. New York City. The Big Apple. The city that never sleeps. Also, some of North America's most dense airspace. This was a perfect opportunity to take the girls for a unique helicopter flight, while I could learn about operating in the New York City Class Bravo and negotiating the presidential TFR over Lower Manhattan.
I've been GoPro'd.
Our sightseeing adventures were a complete success, but our plans to fly were definitely on hold.
What happened? No! What do you think? This is all in the space of one day. That's right, we're in New York.
I was preparing myself to explain to Evelyn that for this trip, we were likely going to be grounded. But finally, on the last day of the trip, everything came together, and we headed over to Jersey to the home base of Fly Nyon. It's a very unique operation that runs via ForeFlight permit, allowing for doors off flying over the city. Unfortunately, that name might sound familiar for another reason. This episode was shot just weeks before that tragic weekend in March. I considered holding it back, but it's a lengthy process to go through an accident investigation, and it's worthy of a follow-up episode. So we're going to do that and talk about new regulations and systems that are probably going to be implemented as a result of that tragedy. But before this flight, I really did feel that I asked our pilot, Christy, all the right questions. Hello, Christy. Good to meet you.
Yes, Christy Brown.
How long have you been flying choppers for?
I've been flying choppers for 5 years. I actually got started with fixed wing. Became an engineer for a while, and then I went back to flight school for helicopters about 5 years ago.
I asked Christy lots of other nerdy pilot questions. We'll get back to that. But I also want to talk about the safety briefing that we got here. They really did have a pretty good system to try to deliver the information in a digestible way to the general public.
All right, so this is a quick 2-3 minute safety brief video. If you have any questions at the very end, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have, okay? All right, we're gonna start this up, okay?
Welcome to Fly Nyon, one of the most exciting experiences in flying. Because of the unique nature of your flight, there are a few safety requirements that you need to know about.
But as with all safety briefings, there are opportunities for people to tune out, and I guess that's something that is difficult to combat, but it has to be addressed. The next phase of the briefing was to learn about the harnesses, but first I got a quick tour of the operations room.
This is Nyon Operations. This is where we manage all the bookings and the scheduling for all of our cities, LA, Vegas, San Francisco, New York, Miami. We have our own internal booking software that kind of cleans up the front end and shoots it to us in a very digestible format, and this is just where it all happens. We have, ForeFlight over all the other cities, just kind of keeping tabs on the 2 different time zones. We added a lot of those other cities in the last few months, so it's been like rapid growth, adding all those different time zones, weather checks, and bringing in all those new pilots. Staying communicative, we use a lot of our internal software to automate most of the communication, so everything's in one place.
Next, we headed to get harnessed up, and again, there were checks and rechecks, looking for loose objects and making sure everything was secure. And there was definitely discussion about how these harnesses worked, but I have to admit, I didn't concern myself with thinking about rapid egress. It pains me to see this knife on my daughter's vest in hindsight, realizing there's no way she would have been able to cut herself out with that tether. So again, this is the last time I'm going to stop the video here, but we will do a follow-up where we really talk about what kind of changes are going to get made. But this really was an impressive operation with a heavy focus on safety. They put a great deal of emphasis on weight and balance, making sure everyone was weighed accurately. And of course, a major focus was loose objects because of the doors being off. Everything was tethered. But I'm not going to comment or speculate further until we can do a detailed follow-up. So for now, please enjoy how a doors off flight over New York City went in February 2018.
Going to the helicopter.
We're right here, right? This is New Jersey, this is Kearney. We are in Newark International's surface airspace. Okay. So we actually can't fly out of the heliport without getting a clearance on the ground here. So they're gonna give us our Bravo clearance, and then depending on where we wanna go first, we'll go to the Hudson River, and we'll check out to the exclusion and fly around in there for a little bit. Or if we want to go just right over Manhattan first, we'll just ask for clearance over Manhattan, and either Newark or LaGuardia will give us that clearance depending on what area of Manhattan we're in. Excited? So this is the Twin Star AS355 F2 model. So we got two Allison 250 C20F engines. This helicopter is just super maneuverable. It's kind of like the Porsche of the sky. So it's just really capable aircraft. The tail rotor is also super responsive. The design is just really nice.
After some additional passenger briefing, Christy taught Jill how to open and close the door.
The flights we do are super customized. So say you want to go get a shot of the Empire State, but you want it to be at this angle, we can normally accommodate whatever you're trying to do as long as it's safe.
In our case, I'd asked for the option to keep the doors on so they could be closed if it got too cold when we were cruising.
Everything is double tethered, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we double tether all of our GoPros. Nothing else loops the cabin. Okay guys, we are ready. So like any aircraft, we have a checklist, okay? So I'm just gonna go through my checklist starting from the back here. Our engine anti-ice, my collectives pull down and locked, rotor brake, and these are the emergency fuel cutoff valves. This is my fuel for my engines right here. Okay, 2 batteries in this aircraft. We got 2 generators and our boost pumps. You're gonna hear those going. We got positive fuel pressure in both. Now, unlike the A-Star, when we start this, we only get 1 fuel setting. I can't modulate the fuel setting, so it's kind of like just a controlled explosion. And if I start seeing it go above the limit, then you gotta shut it down. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, we're clear. Clear. Okay, so you're gonna watch this gauge. This is my T4 temperature gauge. Got a positive light. That's my max, so I'm well within the limit, so we can continue to start. So first engine started up.
Let's start the second one. Same procedure here. Number 2, see? Here we go. This one should light off a little more cool because the rotor blades are already moving. We're good on both engines. I'm just going to turn on all my switches. Got all my lights, heater heat, attitude indicator, avionics, stuff like that. And turn on our radios. And we got 2 transponders because we're always in Bravo here. So it's pretty catastrophic if one fails, your flight is done. Yep. So there's Newark's final approach. We're about 1.5 miles off the final approach. That's runway 22.
Runway hold, triple in 340 at 11.
We are ready to go. You guys ready to go? Yep, we're ready. I'm gonna spin up both engines to flight gate, okay? Just by using these. So it's important, obviously, that you don't bump these during the flight. There's our RPM gauge. Gonna go up to the green. That tells us we're ready to fly. We're in the flight gate. Kearney 6 Sierra Charlie is ready for departure.
6 Sierra Charlie, clear to go. How many passengers?
We got 3 packs and 1 crew. Gonna talk to Newark Tower first before I take off. Newark Tower, helicopter 326 Sierra Charlie.
326 Sierra Charlie, what's that?
6 Sierra Charlie, Kearney with Romeo for the bridge route checkout.
326 Sierra Charlie cleared out of Bravo airspace. We have bridge route, squawk 0326, hook up to 3037.
Sierra 326, cleared in bridge route, 6 Sierra Charlie. So we just got cleared in, and we're off, guys. Here we go.
As we head out over the water, it's probably a good time to pick back up with Christy's interview. Interestingly, she explained why the water is typically a good emergency landing option.
Because we have flotation devices on the skids, and that's gonna be the safest place for us to land. You wanna pop the floats in what we call the glide, the auto-rotative glide, because you wanna make sure they both inflate and just they're inflated properly. Because if one inflates, you know, or something like that, you wanna make sure you have an alternative. Pop them in the glide and then Just make sure everything's good and then you can land.
If you lose one engine, is it like a twin engine airplane or a piston plane where it's like it flies, but...
It's still gonna fly. Can you fly away if you're heavily loaded? Where are you? Are you close to the ground? Are you in takeoff profile? Normally, 95% of the time you can get to a safe area and land it with one engine.
So we're gonna head out towards the Hudson River now. The first thing we're gonna do is go to the Statue of Liberty. And once we open the doors, everyone, you can go down to the floor if you want that, selfie. Okay. Very nice day to fly.
That's awesome.
So we're on what we call the bridge route. We're going to check out. So the end of the Bravo is kind of by where the water starts. So we're going to check out. We're going to be in uncontrolled airspace, or we're just going to start making radio calls on the common frequency, which is 123.05. Whenever you're ready, I'm going to slow the aircraft down here, and you can open the door. Feet, and we're gonna orbit the statue, guys. There she is, Statue of Liberty for you. Oh, look at this. 300 feet tall. Oh, that's crazy. Yep. So we're gonna continue on. We're gonna go towards the city now. Just bring it to the governor's climbing to 1,000 with the R44 and say, "Are you okay? You good?" Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna go get what we call the money shot. Now this is my favorite shot. So this is my absolute favorite shot here. So we're gonna start descending for the Brooklyn Bridge.
That is so weird that we are not in controlled airspace currently, is that right?
We are not in controlled airspace right now, no.
That's bonkers.
We're in Echo, we're not in Gulf. Alright guys, we're gonna come up to the Brooklyn Bridge. Let me know if it gets too windy back there, because I gotta speed up a little bit. Brooklyn Bridge coming up here. Now we're gonna go to the East River frequency. And this is the Manhattan Bridge, so we got Brooklyn on the right, Manhattan on the left.
Is this a dead office for you?
Yep. I do a lot of these. Probably done over 1,000 of these flights, so. Pretty quiet day on the river. During the weekday, it's way busier. Alright, so now I'm going to talk to LaGuardia and try to get his clearance over Central Park. LaGuardia, Charlie, helicopter 326 here, Charlie.
326, yeah, Charlie.
Hey, good afternoon, 6 here, Charlie. Newtown Creek got a 500 requesting on station northern end of Central Park below 1,500.
6 here, Charlie, squawk 0222, clear and Bravo space, as requested at 1.5.
0222, cleared in 1.5, 6 here, Charlie. So he just gave us our squawk, cleared us in. We're right abeam the Trump
6 here, Charlie, go to contact 600, from the 3038.
Oh, Roger. Trump TFR off our left, so that is the no-go zone.
This is the permanent Trump TFR. That is where the Trump Tower is. Originally, it was 3 nautical miles, which covered pretty much the entire exclusion. We worked with the Secret Service and we got it down to 1 mile, which pretty much just covers the island of Manhattan. And this is Midtown. So if you want to, you can request to go over the top, around 3,500, and then you're on with approach. That's approach's airspace.
We're gonna wait till we get a little further up and then we'll turn over.
She still got her feet out, it's awesome.
Still got our feet out, all right. That's a good sign. So we're over the upper east side right now, and you guys can see Yankee Stadium up there. George Washington Bridge. And so this is also a really cool shot off the left at Central Park, looking down towards Midtown, one of my favorites.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, this is cool. You guys ready for a little turn? Here we go. Okay, I don't hear any screams, so. We're good.
Yeah, they're about to do some pretty crazy stuff with me, so.
Yeah. A 6 here, Charlie, complete on station, requesting south on the East River, on station south of Empire State, 1,500.
6 here, Charlie, it's approved.
Approved, 6 here, Charlie. Before the TFR, we used to just go right through, right over Midtown. You guys good? Are you cold? You're good? Okay. So we're clear of the TFR now, so we're going to head over towards the Empire State. As you see, we requested 1,500, so we're staying at that altitude. It gives us a really nice buffer in case we have an engine failure or anything like that. Super safe altitude to be at over here. Alright, here we are. And we're gonna zoom right past the Empire State Building for you guys. Good, you got it? Yep. Beautiful. 6 Sierra Charlie requesting a handoff to Newark for the Freedom Tower 2000.
Roger, 6 Sierra Charlie, Tower.
Roger. We just requested a handoff to Newark Tower, who controls Lower Manhattan. We're gonna go down and see the World Trade Center. So now we're on Newark's frequency. Newark Tower helicopter 6 Sierra Charlie requesting on station Freedom Tower at 2000.
6 Sierra Charlie, approved as requested, altimeter 3038.
Roger, 6 Sierra Charlie. Also a very cool shot here.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you fly fixed wing as well?
I have my private, but I'm not current in it, so.
Yeah, you must feel like you can do anything in this thing compared to fixed wing, right?
Yeah, this is it's way more maneuverable than a fixed wing, obviously, but yeah, I like the helicopters much better. How you guys doing? Good? Alright. Back over New Jersey.
It's amazing to see a yacht thing, even on like a high-tech chopper like this, but that's it. That's the best way to coordinate.
That's the best way, I guess. Yeah. We also have the ball on the AI, but honestly, that thing works really well.
Yeah,
it should be just a tiny bit off to the right side.
Because of the rotor wash, or?
The helicopter, just oriented that way, and it kind of hangs a little bit to the right. It's a little skewed. Things are kind of hard to keep it trim sometimes. And you guys can leave the door open for landing since it's still open. Carney, Sierra Charlie inbound for a fence spot, please.
Sierra Charlie, you're clear to come in.
Clear to come in, 6 Sierra Charlie. Gonna come in with a little bit of a tailwind just because this is the route. But it's not very strong today, so it's pretty busy heliport, so we're gonna parallel park now. And we're back, guys!
Nicely done.
Thank you very much.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Turn off a few items. How'd you guys like it? Yeah?
It was fun.
Got your shoe selfie? Sweet. Alright, guys, we're gonna shut down.
So I hope you enjoyed this one. It was a difficult one to make just because it was such a fun experience, and then finishing the episode with the sort of cloud of sadness around that accident was difficult. But aviation is all about learning and improving and moving on from mistakes and not making them again, so that really is the core of what my channel is about. So please do stand by for a follow-up on this, but there won't be any kind of funny blooper here at the end. Just want to sort of have a little moment of silence.